Hello, Shawn Hart here with Seth Stevens. I want to talk a little bit today about Chinese sourcing. This is not your father's Chinese sourcing. This is quick, fast, and in a hurry. You know me, guys. I like to do things yesterday. Today may be okay with an apology, but tomorrow is too late. So, Chinese sourcing. I just had the pleasure of co-hosting an amazing event in my favorite little, what I call the honey hole of sourcing product in China, a city called Yiwu, with Wilson Matos and my team in China. Rapid Crush and I teamed up on that, and it was an absolutely epic event, especially for those clients who joined us on the trip who had never been exposed to the Chinese way of doing business and the culture. So, like I said, we're here today to discuss Chinese sourcing and hopefully let you guys in on a few of the secrets that I've been keeping to myself for so long. So, first of all, let's talk about Chinese sourcing and is it for you? Can your business benefit from buying product directly from manufacturers in China? In most cases, I would say yes, unless if you're selling a product that is ingestible, meaning something that you eat, or if it's something that's topical that you use on your skin, or it's primarily used for babies, as in baby products, pacifiers, bottles, things like that, then I would say no. Otherwise, Chinese sourcing is probably what you need to be looking at to help take your physical products business to the next level. Why is Chinese sourcing important, and why is it important to source direct? When you're sourcing product directly from a manufacturer, you have a lot of advantages as far as being able to control the quality of your product, being able to control the flow of the product and the whole supply chain. So if you're looking at this, then now is probably a good time to take it to the next level. Why is Chinese sourcing better than domestic? Like I said before, unless you're doing something topical or an ingestible, then in most cases, Chinese sourcing is going to be the way to go for you. So my goal today is to sort of part the curtain, if you will, on doing business in China. And what I'd really like to do is make it super easy for everybody to understand whether you're already buying in China or not, and hopefully to make it more or actually less intimidating than most people assume it is. So let's try to make it easy. Let's try to make it less intimidating. Let's try to raise the veil, if you will, and those of you who are a little bit nervous. Even if you're already doing business in China, then I think you can get a lot of good out of watching the content that I'm going to share with you today. So let's jump in. The biggest part that I hope to accomplish here is to keep you guys from making a lot of the costly mistakes that I've made over the years. Because let's face it, when you're doing business on the other side of the world, you have to watch what you're doing, because if you start working with the wrong people or start using some of the wrong processes, then you can cost yourself a lot of money and a lot of heartache, and sometimes even get in trouble legally. So who the heck am I, right? You're probably asking yourself, who is this guy and why should I trust him? So let me introduce myself real quick. If you don't know me already, my name is Shawn Hart. I'm happily married, father of 4 wonderful children. Well, actually, I have 3 wonderful children and 1 not so wonderful, but we won't mention any names, you know what I mean? My children are age 5, 7, 9, and 19, with the oldest one in college. Now, I know you're probably looking at this picture going, okay, the college girl looks a little young for me, but actually the lady to my right there is my wife, Crystal. These 3, this is Cash, the oldest boy, Heaven, who was actually born on my birthday, quick fun fact, 6 years ago, and Moses, my youngest son. Actually, my oldest is in college, so we'll get to that in a minute. But actually, that's my wife, not my college-age daughter. So my wife will be really happy to know that you thought that was my teenager, though. So I'll tell her you said that. So anyway, we live in Tampa Bay, Florida, on the water, and enjoy lots and lots of time on the boat and the sunshine. So here's a photo of me with my oldest daughter. This is Haley. She just finished her first year of college. Here she is as an athlete. She was quite the basketball player and the track star at her little high school, Morristown, Indiana. So why listen to me? Why you should listen to me? Well, first of all, I'm a serial entrepreneur and I've been in business for myself since my sophomore year in high school. The only quote unquote real job that I've ever had was for 2 weeks at McDonald's when I was 16 years old. I think I worked a total of 16 hours in 2 weeks. So, man, you know what? I would probably get $10,000 if somebody could find a picture of me in my original McDonald's uniform from Rushville, Indiana. So if you have any way to dig those up, shoot me an email. I'll gladly pay for it. I've started numerous businesses, both large and small, short-term businesses as well as long-term businesses. I've had a long list of winners and also losers. Of course, we never hear too much about the losers, right? So from my observation of 23 years in business, there's absolutely no substitute for experience. Here's my first business. Honest to goodness, this is a picture of me with my very first business. I started in a little 4-cylinder Mustang, but quickly upgraded to this beast in a few months. And believe me when I tell you, I feel like I've actually lived 100 years in my first 40. So I was known as the Rose Boy in high school. How cool is that, right? This is actually me about 1992, maybe 91, 92. I was 16 years old. I used to import these fresh cut roses and other flowers from South America, and then me and my friends would set out on the street corners like these and busy intersections and sell the roses for $6 a dozen. Pretty cool, huh? Here's my Amazon business. This account shows $3.6 million since January, but I think I did a snapshot a couple months ago, June 8th. But this is one of 7 Amazon accounts that my partner Seth and I manage on Amazon. Just to give you an idea of what we're doing there, this one shows 30-day sales, 181,000. That's from a different account, also taken on June 8th. But we have a pretty substantial Amazon business. We have over 400 unique products on Amazon, and we're doing right at about $1.2 million per month in top-line sales on Amazon. The business, get this, is only 2.5 years old. We're 100% private label, 100% FBA, and this year we're on track to do between $19 and $20 million with 5 virtual employees. Are you ready for this? Our Amazon business is 100% sourced in China. That's right, Chinese. That's the way to go. So when you're buying product in China, like I said earlier, you have a lot more control over quality and price and the flow of product and inventory and those types of things. This is actually a photo that was taken from a recent event that we hosted on a Chinese sourcing trip where I partnered with Rapid Crush, Jason Fledlin, and Wilson Matos. This is one of the clients actually inside of a trading stall at the marketplace negotiating price on some type of water bottle there. Pretty cool stuff. I have 13 years experience. I've actually been doing business in China since 2003. I've literally imported thousands of unique products with hundreds of unique suppliers. I've made tons and tons of mistakes, guys, and have a massive network of trading companies. I know what not to do. Now, this is important. When you're talking about cheats and hacks, we talk about doing stuff quick, fast, and in a hurry. It's nice to be able to avoid the problems that someone else you trust has already made, especially customs problems. China is known as the world's factory. It's true. They're boasting over $200 billion US in export goods per month. This shows a little graph here of how they're reaching $200 billion per month. This is, 2015 here. So April 15 through April 2016. Pretty substantial. A couple of quick facts here. 320 million personal computers made in China during this time period, 2011. That's over 90% of the world's computers in 2011. 320 million light bulbs, or 80% of the world's light bulbs. 1.1 billion cell phones, 12.6 billion pairs of shoes. This is truly amazing, folks. When you can tap into this type of manufacturing, no wonder China is known as the world's factory. So why China? Chinese suppliers are very, very easy to do business with. They seem to be very eager to work with you because they're hungry for business. They're willing to help customize things like artwork and instruction manuals, and it's cheap labor. A lot of times you can actually tap into the labor of a factory with no added cost to your product. Whether it's printing labels or anything like that. I like to say China, doing business in China is like the old Burger King slogan. For those of you who remember, Burger King said, hey, you can have it your way, right away at Burger King now. China's the same way. Everything is 100% customizable. And if you're like me, you get frustrated when you're trying to do business in the U.S. A lot of times American manufacturers make it really tough to do business with them. I mean, you have to send an email, a phone call, you may or may not get a follow-up. You know, everyone's on vacation, they want to pass the buck to the next guy. I call this the sales prevention department. It's sort of a joke, but it's also true when you're trying to deal with U.S. companies. For me, maybe because I'm always in a big hurry, but I seem to be pulling my hair out when I'm trying to deal with U.S. manufacturers. Now, of course, like I said, ingestibles, topicals, or baby products, U.S. manufacturers are the way to go. Even the Chinese buy their baby products from the U.S. Anyone here scared to do business in China? If you're watching this and you feel a little bit nervous about maybe being cheated, you've heard war stories about people getting cheated. You're afraid of the language barrier, customs problems, or fines. You don't want to get in trouble with U.S. Customs. Or maybe you've even heard stories of people having the wrong components or wrong electrical plugs on their electrical products. If China seems mystifying and you're a little bit afraid of the unknown, don't worry, because I'm going to set you apart here from the next guy. Did you know this quick fact that bumblebees aerodynamically and scientifically cannot fly? Now, don't tell the bumblebee this, but scientists have proven that it's aerodynamically impossible for the bumblebee to fly. Its body is just way too heavy and its wings are too light. However, the bumblebee doesn't even read this. It just flies anyway. And we often let the world convince us that we can't do things, or we throw up our hands and simply say, I can't. I've often been asked through my short career, how did you start? How did you get this company going? How did you do this, or how did you do that? Well, what made me believe that I could do something is, and I told somebody this and it kind of stuck, is I look back and I think no one ever really told me that I can't or that I couldn't do something. So being too damn stubborn to quit, I'm kind of like the bumblebee. I just go out there and do it anyway. So hopefully some of that can rub off on you after watching this short presentation. Gary Halbert was, in my opinion, the best copywriter, marketer who ever lived. Unfortunately, he's passed away for a few years now, but this is one of my favorite quotes from Gary himself. He says, "Nothing is impossible to the man who refuses to listen to reason." So our limitations a lot of times only really exist in our minds. And for me, I like to get out of my comfort zone at least once a week. And if you look at it like this, when you're out doing something fun, if you think about it, the most fun you've ever had are probably doing things where you actually had to sign a waiver before joining into the activity. That's how you know you're about ready to have a good time when someone makes you sign a waiver in case you get hurt. You need help with sourcing in China, help, maybe connecting the dots or knowing what to avoid, how to negotiate, how to find a good supplier versus, a bad supplier or a middleman, how to negotiate the minimum order quantities or MOQs. Hopefully I'll try to answer some of these questions for you today. We'll show you how to get samples fast and those kind of things. So one of the best and worst investments in your business is investing in people. Unfortunately, not only is it the best, like I said, it's the worst, because if we invest in good people, then good things can happen. But if we spend our time with the wrong type of people, like I said before, then we're going to get ourselves in a lot of trouble and have to relearn some of the lessons that were already learned. In China, they say guanxi is everything. What we would call in North America our network, of people, the Chinese call it guanxi, and it's the most important thing in China. The dictionary, you can see here, defines guanxi in China as a system of social networks and influential relationships that facilitate business and other dealings. This can get you into the right school. This can get you a table at the most famous restaurant. On and on and on. Guanxi is your network, and it takes time to build. When you invest in good people, the good side of it is, in China, relationships are key to getting stuff done without problems and hassles. It allows you to shortcut the system, or hacks, like we like to call them. Shorten the curve for building relationships and introductions to new people, because you can tap into that guanxi. It helps you, if you tap into the right people, avoid mistakes by being able to get in, benefit from the experience of others in business. It's kind of like having the answers to an exam the day before the exam. time is finite and cannot be replaced. So if we do it right the first time, we can shorten the learning curve and gain an advantage over those without guanxi. There's absolutely no substitute for experience, like I say. A lot of times people try to copy something and fail because they just don't have the right connections. So if we invest in the right people, not only money but time and energy, good things can happen. But obviously if we invest in bad people or make bad investments in people, which happens a lot of times, then this is what can happen. The bad side of investing in people, like from my personal observation, there's the time waster. This is the short-sighted person that basically just wants to listen. They call this their radio station, WIFM. They say, what's in it for me? If a person approaches a relationship with that in mind, what's in it for me, then it's kind of hard for them to be, their goals to be aligned with yours. So they're just wasting your time or using you. So there's also the misinformation. This is a person that pretends to know it all. I mean, you can't tell him anything because he has all the answers. But when the chips are down and it's time to take responsibility, this guy will disappear on you. You know, when you were trusting him, he knew everything. He knew how to navigate sourcing, how to pick out a factory, how to export, how to package, and then all of a sudden you find out this person doesn't know anything. So you're right back to where you started. So. And then you have the misunderstanding. I mean, these people that don't really fulfill your needs because they don't understand what it is that you need. They have no experience, or maybe they're overconfident. So, you know, this is that deal that I say, you know, my brother's factory, my friend's factory, making big mistakes that are costly and sometimes even illegal. It's funny, a lot of times when you're doing business in China, you'll talk to people, and everyone that you talk to in China seems to, you know, say that my brother or my friend or my father owns a factory. If you have a misalignment of goals, this is what I call the transactionist. I don't think this is a real word, I just kind of made it up, but this is the guy that only wants to profit. They have a short-term business mentality, which means you're not my customer, you're not my client. You're just a transaction to me. A client means that you are under, if you're my client, you're under my protection. If you're my customer, then, you know, I'm just trying to get in your pocket. If I just look at you as a transaction, you're just an account number on an incoming wire, then that's a bad way to start a relationship, especially when you want to cooperate with a Chinese factory. So what is the definition of a Chinese factory? This is the definition that I came up with. A Chinese factory is a vacant land or a building or a set of buildings or office space, also known as stalls, anywhere, including homes, garages, barns, with or without flooring, where large amounts of goods are made using any combination of machines, business, animals, or any other means necessary, and often provide some form of housing for workers on site. So in reality, this can be a Chinese factory, but this is also a Chinese factory. And the reality of it is, if you're doing business on Alibaba or through some type of chat service or something remotely from the USA, you could be working with this Chinese factory, which seems somewhat organized and professional, or this could be your factory. Both are legitimate Chinese factories. I'm not saying you shouldn't do business with this guy, but wouldn't it be nice to know going into the relationship what type of factory you're working with? So this is a Chinese factory, assembling product. This also is a Chinese factory. Unless you've been there, guys, you just don't know the difference. Consider the word factory very, very carefully and be aware that it could literally mean my kitchen table. The Chinese are very industrious and innovative people, don't get me wrong. They're also very competitive, and every Chinese businessman wants to be known as the boss. Let's jump into some Chinese business culture 101. This is the name card. Accept with both hands and read it carefully and tuck it away. This is important in the culture. In the U.S., when someone passes you a business card, what we call it, you just throw it in your pocket and may not ever look at it. So what you want to do here is accept with both hands, study it, even if you don't care, pretend like it's important to you, and then tuck it away carefully. If you don't do this, folks, you're going to be considered a beginner if you just grab it and throw it in your pocket. Don't bow either. That's for that's for Japanese people. The Chinese don't bow. As a matter of fact, the Chinese actually make fun of the Japanese for bowing. They say, what's the matter? Are you sleepy? They think they're nodding off or something. This is the gift exchange. Don't accept gifts from new suppliers. You have to wait until you have a relationship. That means no airport rides, no bags of tea, no ginseng, no dinner, nothing. Yin and yang, the law of reciprocity, means basically don't accept gifts before you have a relationship. If you do accept gifts, then you'll be expected to reciprocate by buying and likely at a higher price. Be professional or at least fake it. The boss. Like I said, every Chinese businessman wants to be the boss, quote unquote. In Chinese business, the boss only talks to the boss, and staff talks to staff. If you claim that you're a boss and you're negotiating with the staff, then you're not professional. So, and what I like to do, as a rule, is never claim to be the boss unless you want the negotiations to end. Always have someone to answer to. Okay, I understand this, Mr. Wong, but I need to clear this with my supervisor. Okay, I hear the price that you're giving me, but it's our company policy. I have to take this to my boss first. Okay. Ego doesn't make anyone any profit. We don't have to be the boss. All we need is a good product at a good price. So you can play the old good cop, bad cop routine and blame it on what I call company policy. Okay, I understand what you're trying to offer me, but before I pull the trigger on this order, Mr. Lin, then I have to go okay this with my boss because it's company policy. Or I can't purchase X amount of over 500 units on a test order unless I okay it because it's company policy. Something like that. This is the wingman. So all Chinese meetings that include the boss will have one or more quote-unquote listeners who will never speak. His job is to take meticulous notes and listen carefully to identify advantages for discussion later. This is a very little-known Chinese secret or business secret in Chinese business, often misunderstood and overlooked. You'll find this to be true in large meetings as well as small meetings, so pay attention to it. One of my favorites, this is the banquet dinner. You recognize this handsome man? This is Wilson Mathis from Rapid Crush. Him and I were in China together recently. We took some of his top-tier clients out to a banquet dinner. So this is almost every major decision in Chinese business cooperation is decided over a dinner. The traditional banquet dinner consists of a large circular table with an enormous lazy Susan. Everyone samples from the same selection of plates while spinning the table to access what you want. So this is what most factories will want to do after you meet in their office, after you tour their factory, that type of thing. This is for socializing. Lots of toasts. I'll toast you, you toast me, we toast the product, we toast the marketing plan, on and on and on. You'll be expected as a guest, as a foreigner, to try everything on the table or you will lose face, they call it. Because you're the foreigner, you must try it. This is a great experience, and I highly recommend that you try it when you get an opportunity. But after the banquet dinner, you'll head back to the factory and finish your business discussion. So your suppliers are going to insist on taking you to this type of dinner when you attend the factory visit. And like I said, it's important to try everything to keep face. This is me and Sasquatch there to my right at a recent banquet dinner in China. China, folks, is wide open for business and breakthroughs are commonplace. You'll experience in China pricing breakthroughs. Like you'll discover, it's 10 times easier to save money on an existing line than to build a new line. And if you can renegotiate your price with an existing supplier because you're there face to face, then that's the easiest way to pump up profits. It's sort of a windfall and it's virtually risk-free if you get a better price on an existing product. You'll also see availability breakthroughs. No more stock-out situations from domestic suppliers when you call to reorder because your product took off and started selling like mad, and all of a sudden they say, well, we sold out last Saturday and we're waiting on a container to be here in about 15 days, give or take. So if you can stagger your shipments, then you can control the supply of your product this way. You're also going to see payment term breakthroughs, like deposits in advance to leverage inventory. One of the things we like to do when we have a good, long-standing relationship with a factory, is, and I'll get into more detail here in a second, we like to put a deposit, $10,000 or $50,000, depending on the deal, into escrow, and then ship all the product open with no payment until it actually arrives in the U.S. You can get really creative and create what I call a true partnership, or what the Chinese call cooperation. If the factory has skin in the game, then they have more accountability to make sure things go smoothly. You're also going to see customization breakthroughs when you're doing business in China versus the U.S. Remember the Burger King theory, your way, right away. You can customize your packaging, your colors, the sizes, logos on the product, add-ons, the list goes on and on and on. You also see bundling breakthroughs. It's a hell of a lot easier to do business with an existing factory that you're already buying widgets from. If you look at their entire line, there's probably something else that meets the same type of product category that you can bundle with an existing product. You're also going to have branding and exclusivity. You can negotiate this right out of the gate, guys. Negotiate exclusivity for North America, which to include Mexico and Canada for your product line or your design or packaging. Or you can actually negotiate your way into being what's called a U.S. agent for the factory. Register your brand and style in China and kind of thwart off those copycats that want to steal your hard work. I'm not immune to overpaying, guys. This is Seth, my business partner in Indiana, aka Sasquatch, because he's big and hairy. We were actually walking through the market where I like to go shop, my little honey hole I was telling you about. We come across this stall who had, if I remember right, 12 products that we were already in the business of. Pardon me. And we actually placed an order with this company for 12 different products. Even with my experience, like I say, I'm not immune to these pricing breakthroughs. Actually, look at Seth's face when he was given the price on an existing product line. If memory serves me correctly, we went from $32 to like $17 on just one of these items here. As I gave him the price, you can see him go, wow, we just made money. Never assume you have the best supplier or the best price. We have to stay competitive and never complacent in our market or in our niche. Always keep an open mind because markets change and honestly, you have to be on your toes. We must stay relevant. And if we don't stay relevant and competitive, then we start to lose traction. New technology and new manufacturing techniques are always driving the prices down. So that's why I say stay on your toes. When you think you know it all, guess what? Then you do know it all because you're going to stop learning at that point. And when you think you can't get any better, then you probably can't. So test one supplier against another just to keep them honest. And new products and new price cycles. Because a lot of times if you get comfortable with one supplier, you won't even know that technology changed and that the prices come down all around you. All of a sudden, you can't even compete. Now, wouldn't you like to see like someone that you know is a top seller in a category sleeping at the wheel? I mean, it's easy to go in there and eat his lunch if he can't even compete on price alone. There's no such thing as standing still in business. So if you're not growing, then obviously you're shrinking. And if you're not moving forward, then you're probably going backwards. And if you're not advancing even just a little, then you're always falling back. Any so-called stationary position in business, in my opinion, is actually the beginning of the end. So don't stand still. Even if you're a one-trick pony or just one product, you have to keep moving forward and keep testing it. New bundling and new offers, new pricing, those types of things. If you have a full line, also keep testing. I always preach speed to market because I think, the first guy that gets, like, if you're selling on Amazon, the first guy that gets listed starts gaining some of what we call Amazon real estate, usually gets the lion's share if he plays his cards right. My friends always say, boy, Shawn, you just never let anything sit too long, and it's true. That's why I preach the whole, quick, fast, and then hurry. The quickfasthurry.com is a website we're putting up where we're going to do a lot of short video training like these to help people get up and running. But I like to move quickly, and I'm never satisfied. If you feel like you're satisfied, complacent, or comfortable, then guess what? Like I said, that's going to be the beginning of the end. So wouldn't you like to see, like I said, a top shelf seller sleeping? Boy, you can really go in there and steal his business that way if he's not paying attention to changes in the market and the pricing and technology. So trading companies versus middleman or real factory. This is the elephant in the room. Trading companies are not all that bad. They actually, in some scenarios, add value and allow themselves to do a lot of the busy work that you may or may not have time to do. So if the middleman's making a little commission, just make him work for it, is what I'm saying. So one of the telltale signs, or several of them actually, is the address. If somebody gives you the address of his so-called factory, if it's in a building on 44th Street in Hong Kong, building 6, suite 502, it's probably not a factory. If it's an address that's in industrial zone C, something like that, then it's probably a factory. or at least close to it. Do they have an ABC account? So almost every single factory that I deal with has some form of ABC, which means Agricultural Bank of China account. If they ask you to send wire transfers through Western Union or pay for things in US dollars, you've already lost that battle. So can they answer questions also like CBM, cubic meters, how many units per container, how long is the lead time on the packaging, what's the MOQ on the packaging, customization options, those types of things. They should be able to answer these questions. So if you use a middleman, that's, like I said, it's not bad. It allows you to focus on your marketing instead of sourcing and all that kind of stuff. But if you're looking for a real factory, here's some of the things that you can ask. 17 questions you should be asking your suppliers. This handsome gentleman here with the peace sign is Mr. Bob Ong. He's sort of my neighbor around the Tampa Bay area here in Florida, and he was with me recently on a trip. Super cool guy, very smart, hardworking, and industrious. So if you get a chance to hang out with him, you should. So here's a quick 17 questions you should be asking your suppliers. I'll go through them real quick. What's the minimum order quantity and why? You want to ask MOQ because if they say, well, minimum order quantity is 1,000 pieces, but you only need 100 pieces, you say, why? If it's because you have to have 1,000 packages, if you want to print custom packages, then that's when you step in and go, okay, well, company policy is I want a test order of 100 pieces, so instead of doing a custom package, let's just put it in a plain poly bag or OPP bag or a white box. Or in some cases, we'll go in there and say, all right, well, the package is only 10 cents of this $7 item, so go ahead and print 1,000 packages, take 900 of them and throw them in the dumpster or store them for me, and then manufacture 100 units for me to test. So you have to ask questions, be inquisitive. What is the cost per unit? I always like to start with 5,000 just to let them know that you're legitimate, that you're a buyer, you're not a rookie. So you go in and you say, okay, what's the cost for 5,000 units? Okay, and once you get the price, you say, well, because of my boss and our company policy, going back to that, then, we have to start with a test order of 500 units. And this is true, folks. You're going to see that they may price you $10 on a product of 5,000 units, but if you only take 500 units, that price may only be $10.12. It's ridiculous what small, insignificant difference there is in things like that. What is the cost for a sample? Is it on hand or something that you have to custom make? What is the lead time or time to create the product? Does your factory make your own packaging, or do you have a preferred supplier? For obvious reasons, you may want to contact that supplier to meet the MOQ and ship your packaging right to the factory so that you can get a lower test quantity. Can you provide private label products? Basically, can you put my name on it? Can you put a sticker on it? Can you put it in my package? Those types of things. Is there a United States patent or trademark on the product? It's a lot cheaper and less headache for you to ask that question up front, because if there is and the factory knows about it, they could save you a lot of time and a lot of energy and frustration if you buy something that's patented and don't know it. Who's the main contact or representative of the factory? Where is the factory located? Get an address if possible so you can check and see if that's a factory or an office. Also, you want to ask them, once you have the factory address, you want to ask them if it's possible that you can visit the factory. Is the factory clean, organized, in good conditions for employee? Ask for pictures. A lot of factories want to show off their manufacturing facility, their employees at work, their office building. They're proud of it, so ask to see pictures. How many employees work at your factory? This tells you the size of the business, and if they don't know this question, that should throw up red flags. Does your factory have quality control tests run to ensure the quality of your products? If so, please explain what they are. Who is the person or persons organization responsible for QC? Do you have an English-speaking representative that I can talk to directly? Can you provide export services? This is important because sometimes you'll run into factories who cannot provide services to export because they don't have a license or right to do that. So they'll have to go through an export company, which sometimes adds to the price, because the person who exports the goods actually gets the VAT refund, the value-added tax back. Can you accept U.S. dollars? So these are some things you should be asking. Here are those same questions in Mandarin. In case you want to screenshot this, you can give these to your agent, and the agent can ask for you. Now, pop quiz. Which one of these online sellers is a real factory boss? These are two guys that sell the same widgets on, we'll say, Alibaba, silicone spatula manufacturers. That'd be fun. So you have DavidWoo88 at QQ.com or WooDavid88 at QQ.com. If all you have is an email address, how can you tell who the real guy is? This is what you're going to find on MadeInChina.com, EC21, Global Sources, etc., etc. Who are you dealing with? Who knows someone's still using their wedding photos on social media? I'm sure you've seen that, or a graduation photo from high school. We're not really putting out the accurate details on who we are on social media a lot of times, and the same is true for these guys. If they're trying to solicit orders on Alibaba, they don't want you to know that he's really working out of a phone booth somewhere. So has anyone ever seen someone you know, Fib, tell a little story about his or her weight on Facebook? It's the same way. Everyone wants to own a factory, whether they do or not. Seeing is believing. So, it's like I have a friend named Chad. He uses these dating websites, and he says there's no headshots. He doesn't want to see a headshot. He wants to see a full-on body shot with no weird angles because he's pretty vain and he wants to know what he's getting into before he jumps. We have to trust these people because we don't have a choice. Unless you're face to face with them, you don't know. Same two guys. Now, which one of these is a real factory boss? David Woo on the left here is a real factory boss. David Woo on the right is his cousin doing arbitrage. He loves the lazy man, the complacent man who won't actually work directly in China because he's too scared to get things checked out. So what he's doing, he's on the phone with you taking an order from his Alibaba account for silicone spatulas for $4. And then he's going to drive down to his cousin, David Woo on the left, to his factory, pay him $2 for the spatula, and then ship them to you, pocketing the difference. This is retail arbitrage, folks, from Alibaba. Good luck getting a ride from the airport with this guy on the bike, right? So kickbacks are king. We have to be careful. Don't become a victim of overpaying because your agent is getting a kickback or commission. This is very, very common practice in China. It's part of their culture. Everyone's doing it. What I like to do is let them steal just a little bit, but not too much. You got to lay down the rules. You got to say, look, you can't serve two masters. Either you're working for me or you're working for them. You can't do both because that's cheating. Make sure your agent never accepts any gifts from the factory because you're going to pay for it. It absolutely adds to the cost of your product, and they even offer kickbacks to translators when we're walking through the market with my clients. It's crazy, but like I said, it's part of the culture. Here we are. This is me. This tall goofball in the back. This is our Iwu China sourcing trip from a few months ago in May, where I teamed up with Wilson and Rapid Crush to make this happen. We had about 70 people at this event. It was absolutely mind-blowing for a lot of these folks because they're already super successful on Amazon. We just took them to the next level. This here is my main man in China, Mr. David Woo. And this handsome gentleman in the back here is Wilson from Rapid Crush. Some of you know him. So here's one of our nightly intensive meetings that we had in China where we get together and discuss what the happenings were for the days, answer a lot of Q&A stuff, best practices. Here's Seth breaking down his infamous Ninja product launch with David Woo, and here's some of the clients that are also working the Chinese market with us. Here's part of one of 5 districts that we like to visit in China. Just as food for thought. Here's Wilson and I doing some in-depth training. This is mi hermano, or my brother, Angel Silva. He's interviewing Bob Ong after the fact to get his take on the event. This is where we did a group fun outing. Daryl here, the big guy right here, he just received an offer for his 1-year-old business. So he's excited about that. Daryl went from paying $4.65 to a middleman to paying $1.90 in Iwu for his product. So pretty substantial. Here's a couple more pictures from the event. Had a lot of fun there, guys. Here's Elena telling her famous toilet paper story. Hope you get to hear it sometime. If you don't know Elena, reach out to her and ask her. She's hilarious. She's very informative and professional in her own right. Endless opportunities, folks. There's a lot of the clients shopping in the market, negotiating pricing, hanging out with their translators who are doing the negotiating for them and translation. Pretty amazing. A couple of more photos. And then when we asked the folks there, this is kind of funny, who would come back if given the chance, about 90% of the people in the room raised their hands. So sincerely, I hope you can join us soon for another one of these trips if you're inclined to do so. I'd love to personally help you and help other people get over hurdles. And I'd love to hear war stories and success stories when you're doing business in China. Reach out to me and let me know what kind of problems you're having with that. Hopefully I can help you with a solution. I want to leave you with one of my favorite quotes for how I learned to treat people from one of my favorite authors, Og Mandino. I know that the world is a looking glass and gives back to me the reflection of my own soul. Now I understand the secret of correcting the attitude of others, and that is to correct my own. Thanks for taking some time with me here today, folks, and I want to wish you the best, and God bless you all. God bless your family, and God bless